Good Monday morning, and welcome to Ice Age TV, the internal combustion engine age YouTube channel that talks about all the cars and trucks and motorcycles, SUVs, dogs, the kid, the personalities, the great weather. Wow, Monday morning there. Thanks for anybody watching my channel, tuning in. Appreciate that. Appreciate all nice comments and just participating in my channel. And here it is, a beautiful November after Veterans Day. Beautiful Monday, just beautiful. Yesterday, cutting all my grass. Yeah, I mean, I spent all afternoon cutting grass, which I've done for 32 years. 32 years I've taken care of this property. And wow, and I just have evolved and from so many different lawnmowers to tractors to zero turns, and thank goodness now I have a really nice John Deere zero turn diesel that just knocks it out. That is so nice. And the kid wasn't around to actually do the 2 zero turns, but here's the thing. My other John Deere zero turn, the belt's broken. I keep on forgetting to go buy a belt. But it's getting late in the year. I don't think I'll cut grass again this year because I kind of went a little low. If you can kind of look here and look at all the frost. And so what? Just our beautiful Monday morning. And wow, holidays are so upon us. It's hard to believe that next week it'll be traveling time for Thanksgiving. And yeah, who's committed to going to seeing the family? Who's committed to creating all the activities? Who's committed to making all the food preparation? Come on, puppies. And yeah, commitment. I thought to myself, hey, why don't we start the Monday off with commitment? The definition of commitment, when you have to take responsibility of a task and there's just no turning back. And I think about the Veterans Day weekend, I think about my uncle. What's really interesting here, my name is the only name between my brother and my two sisters that's not a biblical name. My brother and sisters have biblical names, but my mom and dad, they decided to use the whole family name. So my first name, middle name, last name is actually all part of my family, being that, of course, my last name is my father's name. First name is actually my mom's first born sister's last name, and her second sister's last name. And what made me think of that this morning was my Uncle Walt, who was my favorite uncle growing up, was a World War II vet. And he was actually drafted. He didn't really have a choice back in World War II. But the thing is, he had a commitment, and he actually had a baseball commitment. Yeah, believe it or not, Uncle Walt, tall guy, just a great individual, fun guy, all about sports, all about kids, all about family, all about, just helping. And he was going to be drafted by the Boston Red Sox to be a pitcher. And shortly before that would happen, he was enlisted in to go fight the World War II. And sadly, he was injured and had shrapnel get in his eye. So he lost vision of his eye, which that immediately terminated his future of being a baseball player. Wow. Can you even imagine? Can you even imagine you as an individual are going to be recruited to play for the Boston Red Sox? You're going to be a pitcher, and then the war changed your whole life. But he took that, and he didn't give up. He committed his life to raising a family and being a good person, and he was so much fun. So and he's a veteran. I'm just recognizing he's a veteran. So I'm saying it. Got the heroes gear on, all the Indian stuff. Come on, pups. Let's get in the barn here, and here it is, the smoke show. Once again in my life, who would have imagined a week ago that I'd have a car back that I used to have? I mean, it just doesn't end. Does it end? It just doesn't end, even for me. I mean, yeah, did I have that on my radar screen? Did I ever have on my radar screen, it's, buy back the Dodge Challenger smoke show? Huh, yeah. And how's wife taking that? Yeah, that's very challenging. Yeah, that's not the story to talk about today, because the wife is extremely upset about this car here with my daughter signing off on a car note, which she thinks is a terrible, terrible idea, which is unfortunate because the amount of money that this car is financed is not a lot. And this car could be sold, and we could actually pocket some money. So That's a really good deal we got this car, and I talked about that yesterday on my channel. And so anyway, so I was talking about the veterans. I thought that the veterans are a perfect example in our life of people that commit themselves. I know I have subscribers and people watch my channel that are military personnel and veterans, and I just think to myself, these are people that made a commitment. And as you know, when you commit to something, it isn't, well, let me step backwards and turn around and walk away. It doesn't work that way. The Super B created the commitment of me end up buying a freaking smoke show. And you'd say, well, how'd that all happen? I'd be like, right. And in the end result, this thing's probably just every bit as loud as that smoke show as the, wow. But the thing is, I talk about my video, the four-door car doesn't give you that exhaust note in the interior like the two-door does. So if you're watching the channel, I'm sure now, if you see here, I've corralled my cars. The commitment of these criminals that are out, stealing cars, like in my eyes, like never seen before. It is bad. I've talked about it on my channel. If you're watching every day, you're abreast. If you're not, so drinking my coffee here. So sorry for the little delay here. I didn't turn the camera off. So here's the thing: these Hellcats, these Scatbacks, are sought after cars, and people are stealing them. Right there in Leesburg Dodge, just last week, in broad daylight, somebody stole a Scat Pack Charger like this, different color, in broad daylight in front of the detail department. This is nothing new. Car dealerships have been having these cars stolen for years. But for me, I'm to the point now, it's like, yeah, if somebody's trying to steal my cars, they got a little project on their hand because I'm corralling the cars where you're gonna have to move other cars to get to that car. Not saying that anything's possible. I get all that, but it's just incredible. Even buying this car, this is a commitment. This is my daughter's now new personal, financial commitment. Now keep in mind, I had to co-sign on this car. She didn't get this car approved by herself, so I'm the co-signer on it. But this is her first car in her whole life. That's an actual real commitment to her to have to make sure the car payment gets made and to make sure the car is taken care of. And this is her real car. And so my wife's concern is I'm teaching the kid to turn into who I am. But there's no way. When I was a very young person, I was not buying cars. I didn't have the income. And my daughter's a little different on that type of commitment. My daughter likes to keep things. My daughter, she truly likes to keep things. And that's what I was saying in my videos. Is if I want to sell this car, the daughter would have to agree with it because her name is primary in the car. I can't go, forge her signature. So if I decide to sell this car, she'd have to be like, well, Dad, I don't want to sell a car. And so if you don't want to sell the car, then the car doesn't get sold. So that's a big commitment. And my daughter, she's just on a different page. She just really likes her Ford F-450. Very content with that. She loves that Ram truck. These things aren't getting sold. It'd only be because of financial dire straits that these vehicles would go by to go trade those for something else. I just don't see that happening. She's very happy. The Ford GT Mustang, she's not as attached to that per se, but you never know. But it's more about right now. Had a great weekend, had a crazy weekend, and if you're watching my channel, you'll see this totally came about by accident. I even said on Saturday morning, do I commit my day? And that's what it is. When you go buy these cars, motorcycles, trucks, whatever it may be, as an individual, you have to commit your time to doing your research, and it's huge. There's so many people out there that are in the background looking for their next car, strategizing what they're going to buy. They're making a commitment. They want to change out to something. And when it comes time for you to commit to that car, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of time at you narrowing down which one you want, finding the right dealership you want to deal with, finding the right deal, finding the right finance. And there's a lot of things that, in the end result, is a commitment that you now have made a decision to buy this vehicle. Just like this Triumph Rocket R. It took me close to 4 years to finally commit to buy this motorcycle. I just never felt this was the right motorcycle for me, and how wrong I was. It's such a fun motorcycle. But it really took me, and that's the thing. I have lots of cars and trucks and motorcycles and vehicles, but if you don't realize, it takes time for me to say, okay, that's really what I want. But for some people, it's like, it appears magically right in front of your eyes on a YouTube channel, but you don't know it's been me in the background thinking about it. Just like this Ford Mustang GT back here, I never would have ordered this car. I ordered the Ford Mustang Dark Horse, and I was more than happy to sit it out for the Ford Mustang Dark Horse and not buy the GT. And you say, well, why the hell did you buy this? I would say, right, why the hell did I buy this? Well, it became the strike was going off, the UAW. My Coons Baltimore Ford, their status was it's nothing in the orders. You're probably going to be first next year. And this car came up and not real expensive. And in all reality, I was able to flip one of my other trucks, the white Ram 3500, sits around all the time that I'm just not really attached to. And I can look, okay, if I can make that, swap, then that makes sense. And so that's why I did this. And now that I've done the car, it's a lot of fun. And, if a Dark Horse came available, would I really go that direction? It's debatable. But the problem is the car is a very expensive car, and it's kind of hard to justify spending $70,000 for a Ford Mustang. That's not a Shelby product per se, even though it is in some ways. So, but that's, once again, it's a commitment. So, and then even for my daughter, it was very interesting for my daughter. When I brought this car home on Saturday, I really looked at her and said, this is a commitment that you're going to have to agree to, because this is not about me. This is about you. I can easily walk away from this car. Very easily. So, and she was a little hesitant. She really did kind of step back. She actually drove the car up the road again with her boyfriend in it. And she came back and she was like, you know what? I want to do it. So she wasn't just instantly. She was at first, but then she kind of thought, this is an obligation, a commitment. All right, so here's the Dodge Charger rear exhaust tips. What can I use those on? Hang them on the wall, like the bullhorns I gave my friend Jake up there at Dulles Dodge that did the financial deal. I told him, if you pull off this deal, I'll give you a set of my bullhorns. And if you watch my channel, you'll know that I used to have bullhorns on my front of my trucks, my F-150, my Tremor, and then I had it on my Ford Maverick. So I got some of these bullhorns sitting around. So now, if you're looking at me, okay, here I got the Indian paraphernalia on, and here's the ball game. Why am I doing that, right? It's because the Indian, is the Indian. I can't say a lot because Indian hasn't responded yet to my. If you're not abreast of what's going on, I finally got a hold of Indian, talked to him in person, and over the phone. The gentleman I talked to sounded very negative. He didn't sound very open-minded. He kept on just referencing, I don't make this decision. This goes up to the higher up. I don't make this decision. So he just really resonated like, you're not going to get what you think you're going to get done, sir. But he didn't say that. But anyways, what's, the commitment of Indian, what are they going to do for me on me not being satisfied on this Indian Pursuit that has the shake and shimmy and wobble? But yet, Indian Challenger is flawless, is an incredible motorcycle. You've seen videos of it. So, what's Indian's commitment to resolving the Pursuit challenges of that engineering? In my position is, it's an engineering flaw up front on how the way this rake of this fork of this motorcycle, I'm truly starting to believe the rake of the fork in these lowers that are on the Pursuit, some type of airflow is being created that's creating some type of cavitation in the front end that makes that tire and wheel catch that weird type of air draft that make that front end start to behave weird. I don't know. I'm no engineer. I'm no scientist, so I could be full of baloney. Don't take it from me, just an idea and theory. But here's the thing. I've had a commitment to make a payment on that Indian Pursuit. I've had a commitment to be very patient with Indian to play to go through the steps and procedures to try to fix the problem. And what's really incredible to me is, as I read these comments on my YouTube channel, I read the comments on the Indian Motorcycles Forum, it's just incredible on how this is an ongoing problem. And, it's just really, I was not fixated on the Pursuit, on, a commitment to buying that bike, because I already knew that they're not available. So for the most part, the Indian Pursuit is a very challenging motorcycle to buy because the production of them doesn't stay up with the sales. And so they just really haven't been around. So I just haven't been really fixated on that. And if you watch my channel, I had a commitment to sell 2 of my Indians and just really take the cash out of them and move on. And that didn't play out. Instead, I ended up buying 2 more Indians. That's the danger once to walk into a dealership. If anything, it goes from me selling something to buying something, just like that Lowrider ST. I had a commitment to selling that white Harley-Davidson police special electric glide down there in Florida. And by the time it's all said and done, my daughter has a brand new Lowrider ST. That was not even planned by whatsoever. So that's the danger of my personality and who I am when I go into a dealership. That's the running joke. Once I walk in the door, probably walk out the door, something different. Whole point here is I never was fixated on the Pursuit. So I just didn't follow the forums. I didn't follow videos of anybody giving me a heads up that the front end had a steering wobble, and a lot of the owners were having this issue. Had I heard of that, my commitment to the Pursuit would have been put on hold, and I'd be like, you know what? I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna sit it out. You know, what's this all about? I'd be very concerned about that, hearing of a steering wobble. But here's the thing: it's incredible about how many people are responding to my YouTube videos and my comments, and in some ways, some of them feel like, what's the big deal? Yeah, I mean, no lie. I'm taking back how many comments I'm getting from some people that are like, it's not really that big a deal. You're just being, in some ways, a little baby about being worried about, being worried about your steering on the front of your motorcycle having a shake and shimmy. And I'm just thinking, wow, really? You've lowered your expectations on riding a motorcycle, that you feel it's okay, that it's not a big deal. And what's really interesting is, I don't think people are in tune with these bikes, because when I ride that bike, that Pursuit, that bike maneuvers itself. So when you're like in the 55, 60 mile an hour, riding down the road, it's the weirdest feeling in the world. The bike just itself, it's kind of like if you're in a car that has lane assist, or you have hands-free driving, the Blue Cruise, where the car just drives itself for a second. That's what that Indian Pursuit does. It's a very freaky feeling motorcycle. And yet there's people out there that are trying to challenge me that I'm overdoing my concern and the well-being of my safety on a motorcycle. And it's just like, wow, what is your commitment? So you're committed to getting on a motorcycle that has steering issues, and you don't think this is a serious problem? So how do you know that cavitation doesn't show up on your Indian Pursuit at 80 miles an hour? How do you know that if you're just going 80 miles an hour down the road, all of a sudden that bike gets the death wobble? And if you know what a death wobble is, that's a violent shake of the front end. And if you don't know how to handle that, you're going down. And so the running joke about young green crotch rocket riders that buy these just street motorcycles around the showroom, they get these motorcycles and they want to be the daredevil guy that goes down the road. Okay, so the daredevil guy goes down the road and wants to go 150 miles an hour, and all of a sudden, I've got Harley Davidsons where this has happened to me on my Harley Davidsons. I'm not lying. I've had the street glides where I've gone down the road at a very high speed. The street glides, the Harley products, they are not the 100+ mile an hour bikes. Ask me how I know. You hit 110, 120 miles an hour, those Harleys with that bat wing and that whole front end setup, that bike starts doing this. I'm not lying to you. It's like, whoa. So what happens with these crotch rockets is, in race bikes, they've got a steering stabilizer. They literally have a shock up in the front end. I don't think this bike has one. And it literally has a shock up in the front end that literally stabilizes this front end when you're doing extremely high speeds. And if you're not abreast to that technology in a crotch rocket and it doesn't have that, then you're going to get the death wobble. You're probably going to kill yourself. But a lot of young people and average individuals have no clue what I'm talking about. You literally have a shock up in the front end that's attached to the fork assembly to keep the bike stable at those high speeds where it starts to try to wobble on you. Yeah, so, it's a real deal. So, all right, let's get up here in the office. Here's the smoke show. Incredible. Who would even imagine? But here's what's so cool to me. In my life, I now have 2 really cool Dodge Challengers. I mean, I just think that's so cool. I now have 2 really cool Dodge Chargers. And this is where, for me, I'm always thinking, what if, or what do I do? Because these are very expensive cars. Not so much that car, not so much this car, but when you go to these Hellcats, these are pricey cars. And for me, what's my commitment? My commitment is to ride it out and see if these cars bring some big money. And I think they will. And in so many aspects, I'd rather not sell the Hellcat Red Eyes, but these are expensive vehicles. And sincerely, if I was able to cash out between these 2 cars and make $100,000, I would do it. I would let them go, because that's a lot of money that I would take and try to use somewhere else as a better way of spending money. But here's the beauty of that. If I did that, I still have a really cool Charger, Super B. I still have a really cool Challenger. I could take those monies and just pay some cars off. I mean, that would be really cool. But at the same time, it would be cool to be able to keep the Hellcats. But that's challenging me in my life is, can I keep something? Can I be committed to keeping a car the whole duration when you buy this thing? Because when you look at buying these cars, and now we're at much higher interest rates, and this car is a high interest rate because my daughter has 0 credit. I mean, she has 0 credit. So yeah, it's not the greatest rate, but if we make a good 12 payments, we can refinance it down the road to a better rate for her. The whole point is, if she kept this car for the duration of the whole loan and didn't try to make a little bit more on top of the payment, you're going to pay a ton of money in interest. So I committed, and that's what I say to people all the time, is you can buy a car for $100,000, but if you finance it, that car is going to be $120,000 or $125,000 to pay for it. And, so that's where it gets very expensive. You actually are going to spend $100,000 to own a car. Me, it's more about, I'll have my fun with the car. My commitment will be, I'll get my 6 months to a year fun out of it, and then I move on to something else. So I can continue my joy of just owning different vehicles and have an opportunity to experience the different rides. And yesterday I took the Mustang GT out, and that car is just so much fun. But it's just such a whole different ride from these, other products. So let's get up here in the office. It's probably going to be cold up here in the morning. On the commitment of getting the day going, go to work, and come on, pups. What's going on here, right? Whew, it's cold. That time of the year now where it's getting colder. Do we see snow? When's the snowman going to show up, right? And around here, that could be next week. That just kind of plays out that way. So, go to the office, sit down here, get the phone. I'm holding the phone up forever, and oops, I turned it off by accident. That does happen. So, now when I think of the commitment, I think, what's the commitment of the Ice Age? Come on, boy. So, what's the commitment of the manufacturing side that we're witnessing of us Ice Age people? And it's so, it's incredible how many articles are populating more than ever on how the commitment to the EV is kind of losing that flair. If you're really watching the news, automotive news, and you're really abreast to what's going on, you'll see that more than ever the commitment by the big 3 seems to be wavering. And it seems that the consumers that the big 3 were so convinced would be committed to buying a brand new green vehicle isn't happening. Isn't that something? So it's incredible on how so many, just over a year ago, it's really ever since this new administration has come in. I mean, I sometimes really scratch my head if people ever step back and really think about all this stuff that this administration has shoved down your throat in so many aspects. And I just think for us person, they just don't connect the dots. I mean, it's just this city administration has been the biggest, fastest green agenda advancement, but it's not advancing. In so many ways, it's not playing out the force. I talked about it many times. When you try to force things onto somebody, it never works. It never works. And that's what's going on. We have an administration in this country that's so many support, that feel the forcing of making others do things they don't want to do is the way you handle. And it's just like, but how do you? I mean, does that really make any sense to you that somebody come tell you what to do, that you don't want to do that? I mean, what plays out usually? Usually it becomes a very violent, physical confrontation in so many aspects. If you're a married man, relationships, business relationships, you can go through the list of things of what plays out when you start demanding somebody do something you don't want to do. It's usually not for the better. But yet that's who we have running this country at this time, is political figures, and really the media machine more than ever is pushing this stuff on us, sadly. But the point is, the commitment of the big three to go all out electric, it's not playing out. That commitment is now wavering. The commitment now is they're changing direction. And we can only hope that the Ice Age TV, right? Yeah, like my Ice Age TV is changing direction of the green agenda. But I think in general, we can only hope that the average person is just really starting to step back and go, I'm just not buying into the gig of all this electric stuff. And what's really interesting is the barrel of oil is now down to 70s. I can remember so well saying last year that we'd be like a $60 barrel of oil. And it just is really intriguing to me and how this continued delay of the economic collapse, imploding, it isn't happening that so many people predicted to be. But one thing's for sure, if you really follow the news, and what's really incredible, there's so many ways anymore that news is not reported because of the way laws are written and things are done. Just like the commitment of the police to enforce the laws. Well, the laws have been changed for the police can enforce things, so you don't hear them on their commitment to go enforce people doing bad things because there's nothing for them to be able to enforce. So for the average person, they feel like the crime isn't really that bad because it's not being reported. Well, they can't report it because the police can't enforce it. Is this making any sense to you? So here's the thing. Excuse me. I got to get some water. Here's the thing. The real estate market, commercial real estate market, in some ways is in a shambles. So a lot of these buildings, as we know, from the remote working, the pre-pandemic, the COVID, everything else, all the go back to work offices are empty. I mean, a lot. I mean, it's a huge number. And so these landlords had bought these expensive properties and put mezzanine. I think it's called mezzanine. I don't even know if that's correct. But there's some new language that when a commercial property is financed with a lender, but then there's another way you can get creative and finance the property, it isn't really on the books for the data to be relayed of what's going on in the commercial real estate market. Yes, this is a fact. The way it's structured and how foreclosures are happening right now, the commercial real estate properties, you don't know about it because of the way the deal is structured. So the banks can overtake the properties very quickly and very easily. So unbeknownst to most people, tons of properties right in front of your eyes are being foreclosed on. And banks are having to take them back because the investors and the owners are walking away from them because there's nothing there. They can't afford to pay the rents. They can't afford to pay the debt because they don't have the rents to pay anything. So, and that's huge. It's at its biggest ever. But you are clueless to knowing this because the way the laws are written and the way the loans are written, it's not your typical foreclosure bankruptcy filing that's public record. I just read about this morning, Wall Street Journal. Wow. So the commitment by all these investors is waning and they're walking away. I just talked about how the commitment of the green agenda is waning in so many ways from the big three on investments because they're not seeing it. The commitment of people that have bought cars during the pandemic, it's obvious their commitment is they don't have a commitment anymore. They're letting the cars go bye-bye. The repossessions are through the roof. And even for me, you just don't see this. We don't see it. It's so weird on how you just don't really see much of any information, but it's more of this is what it more is. The car dealerships, even for me, disclosing information. Some of my friends during these dealerships, if they watch my channel, they probably even text me and go, you just share too much information that we share with you because we just feel like this is more private information. Okay, well, sorry if I'm doing that, but I think people would like to know the real reality of what's going on. So the reality is the repossessions are true. It was through the roof. Car dealerships are literally being given notice by banks, and this is a fact. How do I know this? Because I've had cars repoed in my lifetime. Your selling dealer that sold you a car, they will get notice that you defaulted on that car because they're the one that wrote the loan. And in some dealer aspects, if you're in with a dealer good enough, the dealer will guarantee the loan. Did you just hear that? In some aspects of loans, if the bank won't take the deal, the owner or the management can make a call and say, we'll buy the deal, meaning that they're going to stand behind the loan. That if the loan goes sour, the dealership has to fork the money out to pay the loan off. That goes on. That's real stuff. So the reality is that these dealerships now are getting notices like they've never seen in modern times. And then the YouTubers claim that it's bigger than the 2000s, 8, 9 auto crisis. Wow. But do you really know this? I mean, per se, do you see your neighbor's cars being repoed? I don't think most here do. I always just like to hear stories from other YouTubers. I mean, are the things happening out there? I mean, sincerely, do you have a friend that had their car repoed? I mean, but maybe some people are like, I just don't want to share information. And I get that. It's embarrassing. Who's not embarrassed when you've made a financial commitment to pay for something and then you can't? I mean, I've been down this path a few times. It's not fun. It's very insulting. And you feel smaller, you don't feel good about yourself because you made a commitment to buy something, and then at the end you can't stay committed to that, and you have to eventually raise your hand and say, I can't do it anymore. And then you take that as yourself as a failure. Then friends and family and people around you look at you as you in some ways are a failure. And and sadly that's a huge part of the automotive industry and that's why do you pay higher interest rates on credit cards? Why do you pay higher in cars? It's all the variables that are factored in that these banks know they're going to have a percentage of defaults on these cars. But right now, wow. So what's going on with that, right? I mean, what is happening? What is a commitment by the banks lending money? To me, it sounds like the commitment by the banks is very concerning because people still go to the car dealerships in some aspects and want to buy a car, but the bank doesn't want them to buy a car. So they're not committed to help that dealership get the deal done. Same time, I hear people on my YouTube channel comments they're not going to buy a car at this time because the interest rates are too high. The cars are too expensive. Right. Where's the commitment from the auto industry that starts to reevaluate what they, in some ways, abused of getting incredible premium prices for all these cars, and now people don't want to pay that for them to the degree. And what I hear from individuals at these dealerships is it's one or the other. So the consumer is broke. The business owner has the money. So if you're a sales guy and you've got a good base of business owners, you're still selling cars. If you're a newer sales guy and you don't have a business customer base, then you're sucking wind because the average consumer can't afford to buy the car. They don't have the money. I witnessed this on Saturday. One of a really cool young gentleman there that sells cars. He had a Jeep Renegade deal, and they were stuck from the $28,999 price to $25,999 price. And this couple was there, and I asked him after they walked away what played out there, and he said they wanted to pay $25,999. And he's like, we couldn't go that low. We could have got them into like $26,500 or something like that. And I said, well, that's too bad because they're just going to our dealership. He's like, we're the third dealership. I'm like, so that you're now the third dealership that they've come to. They've spent their day. Remember I said earlier the commitment? So think this through. You're the people driving around your car to buy a Jeep Renegade, and now it's a $500 decision. It's a $500. You're at the point that it's $500, and if they can't go another $500, let's drive somewhere else. Wow. And sometimes I think, is it really that? Is it really that? Or is it really they just don't want to buy the damn thing? I don't know. A lot of, when does a person commit to buying a car, right? That's the challenge of salespeople is overcome the objections. And a lot of times it's not because look at the Demon 170. I talked about this yesterday on my channel, the Demon 170, on how many people have paid insane prices for this Demon 170. Wow. Could you even imagine if Dodge brought back a hybrid, badass, next generation, Challenger, Charger, CUDA, whatever they're going to call it, and the damn thing had like 1,200 horsepower, total track ready. It goes to the track and it just obliterates the 170 Demon. I mean, I mean, and then what happens to 170 Demon? I mean, sure, it's always going to go down to the car of the car. But I can tell you one thing: whoever buys them, you better have them locked down. You better have that car locked down. Can you even imagine if a guy was to steal a 170 Demon, what he could probably get for that thing on the market? So if a thief, if he got that car and he could get it overseas, I mean, that may be a $500,000 ticket for that guy. So you don't think somebody's out there thinking about that? And that's the thing. These criminals are committed to getting cars. And here's another story. So here's one of the sales guys I deal with that's sharing with me here in Fairfax, Virginia, where he's in a nice apartment, condo area, where his personal friend has a ZL1 all modded out, up to $130,000 of all the mods and more horsepower, everything badass ZL1, right? Apparently, like Wednesday or Thursday night at 2 in the morning, somebody got to it and stole it. It's gone. Wow. Yeah. So the whole point is the commitment by these criminals to be scoping out where the cars are. And my daughter already knows. I already told her, you take that Dodge Challenger Scat Pack to the same public parking facility, on a regular basis, it's going to be gone because the thugs will be giving their buddies the ring that here's a Scat Pack that sits up here every day about this time. Every day it sits up about this time, I think I can get you, this car for if you need it. I mean, that's how it all plays out. Yeah, the commitment of the criminals is rampant like you can't see. So what's really befuddling to me is how many of these Dodge Challengers and Chargers see in the lots. And you see these videos, and I just think, where's it all going? I mean, a year from now, does anybody here truly believe that all these Dodge Challengers and Chargers, especially the wide body packages, are going to be the Scat Pack packages? Do you think they're going to be sitting around? I don't think so. I think that you go a year from now, and it's going to be more about all you're going to see is the used ones. How many used ones be out there? I mean, they're building a lot of cars. So my sales guy tells me that between now and the end of the year, there's probably in the Virginia, Maryland, D.C., I'm talking about all of Maryland, all of Virginia, D.C., surrounding area, there's probably about 100 more Scat Pack wide bodies coming in the market. But then that's it. And if you're watching my channel, the commitment by Dodge to continue to build these things is over. So apparently, at the end of July this year was the last opportunity you had to order your own special Dodge Challenger or Charger. And even the point I mentioned yesterday, the dealer here I deal with, they have 3 more Challengers coming in, and they're all narrow bodies. They did order 3 wide bodies, but just this past week, Dodge alerted them that they're not building just dealer inventory wide bodies. Only customer orders will be fulfilled and done, and then it's over. So is it December 31st, or when do they shut down the Brambleton plant in Canada to make it the last day of commitment to building these cars? Who gets the last built Challenger or Charger, right? And then what is Dodge's commitment to bring the next excitement to the plate? And that's what I think to myself. Let's just say that we're a year away from Dodge bringing something to the market. I mean, my guess is the big reveal will probably be next, I would say late spring, early summer. That'd be my guess of what we're really going to see coming. I don't know. Just not that dug into it that much. But the whole point is, where is the excitement in the Dodge dealerships of the power besides the Ram TRX and the Wrangler 392? And that's what I talked about yesterday. That smoke show is only in that driveway garage is because of the 392 Wrangler. I've never, it's incredible how I've committed myself to wanting to drive a Jeep Wrangler 392. And it's incredible. This is the 3rd time now where my local sales guy gives me a heads up that a 392 is coming in. And by the time the thing gets there, and I want to go do a video, be driving this 392 to see how it rides, poof, the car is sold. It's not like 3 times. So now they have the color I'm not. It's like the lime colored Jeep 392. Apparently there's a couple in Florida that bought 2 of those things, and they can't figure out whose car is whose. So they're trading it for a black one that just came in. If you watched my video the other day. So when that one comes in, then I'm going to get to drive that one. If it doesn't poof, is sold to somebody else before I can get there to drive it. But the whole point is, one for me on Friday, my sales guy called me on like Tuesday or Wednesday, said I just picked up a 392 Wrangler and come check it out. I'm like, yeah, I'll come check it out. So by Friday, I had an opportunity of time and the vehicle's there. I want to go drive it. Can't drive it because it's been sold to a guy in Florida, Seminole, Florida. So now, Muhammad and I are driving around. I've told this story before in my other videos, but the whole point is, he and I are riding around, and I asked him, said, what would be a good exhaust for this plum crazy Dodge Charger? And he's like, go over to a guy in Manassas and have him cut out the mid mufflers, and there you go. And I was like, wow. And so he called the guy on the phone right there as we're driving around at like 11 o'clock in the morning. And the guy's over the phone, like, bring it over 3 o'clock, I'll do it. I'm like, really? And then he's like, do it for X amount of dollars. I'm like, wow. So now I get fixated on taking care of the plum crazy over there at Max Custom Exhaust. And if you watch my videos, you see that turns into me getting exhaust done. What's so unique to the Dodge product is the mufflers are underneath the car, not in the back of the car. Those are the resonators. I didn't even know that. I thought the mufflers in the back of the car. So learned some stuff there. So if you watch the video, you see that I just don't think the car is going to have the noise that I thought it'd have, which turns into the Saturday morning conversation. The kid, buy the freaking smoke show back. And I truly was like, this deal is not going to go down. But you know what? Hey, I'll give it, we'll go for it. I'll get my sales guy and my finance guy to make a commitment and try to get it done. And then, if you watch the channel, the rest of the story. So what's the commitment here for us as we sit here and watch the future of the Ice Age? I mean, what is it? I mean, do you think that the big three is going to step back and realize that us Ice Age people just aren't going to bend all the EV agenda? Or is it just going to be a slow kind of pullback and then they're going to go full force again? I mean, I've already mentioned many times, General Motors' commitment to building a whole brand new electric vehicle factory has been put on hold. A lot of the infrastructure of this electric vehicle technology is in some ways wavering, but not totally, because the commitment by this administration to spend your tax dollars through the Inflation Reduction Act is huge. It's huge. So, what's the commitment? Here's what's really interesting. What is going on with XI coming to San Francisco to meet with Joe Biden, which AKA is Gavin Newsom? What is Gavin Newsom doing over in China? I truly believe that Gavin Newsom may be the next presidential candidate. I think something's going on with the China influence with the Biden man and Gavin Newsom. Just doesn't seem to make any sense that this guy XI now is all of a sudden getting very interested to talk to Joe Biden and Gavin Newsom. What's that all about? What's that commitment? What is China's commitment for the next election involvement? Then that gets deep and heavy. So anyways, that's it. Leave it at that. Hey, I appreciate everybody being committed to watch my channel. I do. I know sometimes the video get very long, but I hope people enjoy it. I enjoy making them. And so, as always, what's the next adventure? Yeah, I mean, even for me, what's the next adventure? I don't even know. It gets crazy, doesn't it? I hear you. So really what the next venture is, hopefully Indian reaches out to me and lets me know their position of what they're going to do with that pursuit. I just really want them to buy it back and wash my hands from it, and then I just have the opportunity to evaluate something else. So that's hopefully their commitment to make me happy. And even a gentleman on the Indian forum yesterday that watches he watches these forums, my videos. He said yesterday to me, he said, man, if anybody here is an ambassador to Indian, it's you. It's you, Ice Man, that's done so much video content of the Indian motorcycles and the sharing of your love of these motorcycles over so many years. In so many ways, you're the unknown ambassador to Indian. I thought that was pretty cool of him to reference that, and so I'm sure his position is Indian. It would only be advantageous for you just to put this to bed for us guys, so he continues to be an incredible Indian supporter and be committed to continue to promote your brand instead of being committed to share the dirty laundry. Yeah, I heard that. Right. All right. Harry, thanks for watching my channel. Share the channel. God bless. Stay safe and stay tuned for more videos.